begin. It is Thursday the 5th, the morning of. Last night, the Knicks went through a 10-round slugfest with the Denver Nuggets. That happened. They come out with a win. Today was the trade deadline. The Knicks get their second trade, and part of their second trade is trading away the guy they got in the first trade, as expected. But you also find out that one of their key players is done for the season. We have a lot to discuss in this show, but let's start by talking about what was, in my opinion, at least as far as regular season goes, the best win that I've experienced in this Brunson era, this Leon regime. That was one of the funner games I've had a time watching. And I was planning on I should have put it on social media because it sounds stupid to say now, but I was like, even if the Knicks, and I'm glad they won, obviously, but even if they had lost that game, this probably would have been up there for top 3. It was just a good, well-played game. There was so much to like, and they eventually pull away for a win. The Knicks have had a good time against the Nuggets for a bit now. They are, I think I saw on Twitter, they are 6-1 against that team in the Brunson era. They've always matched up well with them, and I know, the two sides aren't healthy right now, so both have injuries, but that was a fun win. The Knicks win 134-127 at the Garden last night in double overtime, in case you didn't watch, in a game that was, again, my favorite of this era, where the Knicks are now relevant again, and at least as far as regular season wins goes. But this team has completely flipped the switch. They have turned the season around real quick after everybody, and myself at times, thought that things were headed for the worst. I want to talk about the win because there's so much to unpack. So we will do that in this show here, episode 992 of the pod. But before we get into the game itself, it wouldn't be right to start anywhere else except for praising the king of New York City sports, the king of the metropolitan area, Jalen Brunson. I'm giving him last night's game ball from the starting unit. 24 game balls for Jalen now in the season. He played 47 minutes last night, and he still scored 42 points in those minutes. 8 rebounds, 9 assists, shot 14 for 27 from the floor, 5 for 12 from 3, 9 of 15 from 2, 9 of 11 from the foul line, 2 steals, was a plus 13. He is the king of New York. I've been preaching this on social media forever. He just continues to be there every time the Knicks need it. Did he have the cleanest game? No. His decision-making in the first quarter was very poor. We'll talk about that later in the show. 5 turnovers, 4 of them came in the first quarter, which means the rest of the game, 3 quarters plus the 2 overtime periods, he only had 1. So you got to give him credit for that. And 42 points is 42 points. He continues to be the best player in New York City sports, and I don't think it's close, just by what he means to the franchise. I just think this guy is just getting started. It's not like he's a veteran near the end of his prime. No, he's got years left. He's got more of this shit to do, so long as he stays healthy, knock on fucking wood. Continues to be one of the clutchest athletes I've had the pleasure of watching as a New York sports fan. In the final 5 minutes this season of fourth quarter or overtime, when the Knicks are within 5 points, that's considered clutch time. He's been outstanding. Last night, he was 5 for 9 for 16 points in those scenarios. And on the season, he's 86th percentile in points per game in those clutch scenarios, which means he's 21st out of 145 players with at least 15 games played in the clutch. Just continues to be Brunson. So 24 game balls now for him on the season, and averaging a very, ho-hum 27 points per game this year on 47, 38, 85 splits. So that's Jalen Brunson. Are we shocked? No, we're not shocked, but sometimes we don't appreciate it, and we just expect it, right? And Brunson, as well as Karl Towns, was very key and pivotal to the Knicks having the offensive success that they had last night against the Nuggets, because obviously Josh Hart was hurt, and you hope that the ankle injury is just a sprain, like they say, and he's okay to get back on the floor in a week, or maybe they hold him out to the second half, whatever. You hope he's okay. But that did open up an opportunity for Mike Brown to lean into 5-out offense. And when the Knicks lean into 5-out offense, defenses lose the ability to then cross-match Towns with a wing and then roam their big and help off of a non-shooter. They can't do that then. So that puts your two best players, Brunson and Towns, it puts them in space, and it allows them to run action together, right? Towns can attack the big downhill in space because the defense now has to stay home on the corners and on the wings. Brunson gets the big switch off the pick and roll with Cat instead of drawing the wing defender off the switch. Now he gets a big. He punishes bigs, just like Cat. And if the defense doesn't want to give Brunson the switch, then either Cat's going to be open for a pick and pop three if the big's in a drop, or Brunson turns the corner with ease because the point of attack defender is now trying to fight over the top of the screen. And we saw examples of all of that last night because Mike Brown was running Shamet a whole lot with that first unit. Brunson's first basket of the game, which was the Knicks' first basket of the game, he comes off of a Towns screen. Denver switches it, so Jokic is now on him, but Jokic gives him space, so Brunson walks into a pull-up three. Bang. Brunson's first points of the second half come. He and Cat run action together. Brunson comes off Cat for a handoff. Denver switches it with Jokic again. Brunson gets downhill on him, draws contact, goes to the line. Cat's first basket of the night. Jokic gives him way too much space on the perimeter. He knocks down a catch-and-shoot wing three. And then when he went on that tear at the very end of the first half, 3 consecutive possessions just taking advantage of having a big on him. It was Valanciunas who was in the game at this time. Cat had him because you couldn't hide Valanciunas on anybody else because everybody else could shoot. So he had to guard Cat, and he has a pump and go drive over Valanciunas for a finish. He knocks down a trail 3 in transition with Valanciunas just dropped off way too far on him. And then he attacks him from the top in transition, getting downhill. His momentum's going toward him, draws contact. That was at the end of the first half. He still had plenty of baskets. I mean, his first basket of the second half, top of the third quarter, catch and drive on Jokic for a finish. His first basket of the fourth quarter, it's a Kolek Cat pick and roll. Jokic is in drop. Kolek hits Cat immediately on the roll. Cat attacks Jokic downhill with momentum, gets a finish. It's a thing we've been praising, or we've been hammering all season long for 2 years, and it's for a reason, because this Knicks offense is supposed to be what carries them over the top, and you can't maximize this offense without maximizing your 2 best players by putting them in the best lineups for them. So I think Mike Brown and the Knicks need to lean into this more. It can't just be here and there. It can't be a little more than Tibbs did, but not much more. It needs to be a lot more than we're seeing. You know, because we saw some interesting rotations last night, man. You know, you had Shamet with the first unit a lot, which was good. And in those lineups, the Knicks outscored Denver by 15 points in 13 minutes. Remember, this is a game where the Knicks won by just 7. That's telling. But the starting lineup actually had Clarkson in place of Hart, not Shamet. So that was interesting to me. I didn't love that. And then you get to the top of the second quarter. That was a tough watch, that lineup. It was Kolek, Clarkson, Bridges, Diawara, and Mitch. Obviously, you didn't have Brunson. That's his normal sit time. But you didn't have Cat. He was back in the locker room getting stitched up. Kolek and Clarkson together, you never love that. It's just 2 targets on defense. Diawara was your non-spacer to hide Jokic on. And they were running through Clarkson. So it wasn't even like Brown was using that to get Mikal touches. they weren't running offense through McHale. They were running through Clarkson. Huck Porty later comes in for Mitch. Didn't look good. Instant turnover, was getting scored on. And the Knicks got outscored by 7 points in 3.5 minutes there at the top of the second quarter. Later in the second quarter, he goes to that lineup with Shamet plus the first unit, the 5-out lineup. The Knicks outscored Denver by 6 points in about 3 minutes. And then another interesting lineup was the one at the top of the fourth quarter. It was the same lineup from the top of the second quarter, but with Cat in over Mitch. The same issues were happening. Cat was getting cross-matched. The Knicks were outscored by 4 points in 4 minutes. And then after that, they take that lineup out finally, Jesus Christ. And then the remainder of the fourth quarter, they go back to the Shamet lineup with the first unit. And then they were rotating Cat and Mitch throughout, and it was good. They got outscored by 2 points in the final 8 minutes there of the fourth quarter, but they go to Shamet in overtime. Those lineups looked good. Obviously, eventually, Cat fouls out. The dog's barking upstairs. Hopefully, the mic's not picking that up. But overall, I need to see Brown and the Knicks lean into 5-out spacing more, especially on nights where Hart's unavailable. You were hoping at times in that game they would have went to it more, but that's a moot point. They won the game. I want to talk more about the Knick offense and some things I didn't like and some things I liked, but specifically some stuff that I think needs to improve. And we'll do that the minute we get back from a break here on episode 992 of the podcast. Stay with us.
Quick break here, guys. Stay connected with BD4 on social media. Follow us on Instagram and X at BD4Pod, and find us on Facebook by searching BD4. Don't miss out. Join the conversation. Want more BD4? Subscribe to our YouTube channel and never miss an episode. Hit that like button, drop a comment, and share with your fellow fans. Don't forget to ring that bell so you're always the first to know when a new video drops.
So, as good as a win as this was, and we will talk about more of the positives, the Knicks scored, what did they score? 120, let's find out. I just had it. 134. They scored 134 points in 6 periods. There were some things that, they weren't always running through Cat like they should be. That's supposed to be part of their offense. I think it was pretty noticeable on the box score. They had 13 assists in the first 24 minutes of the game, first half. And then the second half, they had 15 assists in 34 minutes. It was a lot more Brunson hero ball when it probably shouldn't have been because, again, on a night where Cat had the big matchup all night long, you could have used him on the pinch post more to attack from up top, to survey for back cutters, to find handoff outlets, or to pick and roll with. And you didn't get a ton of that, I felt like, down the stretch. I feel like as well as it looked to end the first half, the Knicks come out there in the top of the third quarter. Brunson is just doing a little too much hunting for Jamal Murray. He's trying to get the Jamal Murray switch when the Jokic switch was available to him. He wasn't going for that. He wasn't calling Cat into action. Didn't love that. I just think Brunson at the same time needs to do a lot better of a job finding Cat off the pick and roll, off the pick and pop. That's been an issue that we've been trying to solve since they've been playing together. But he very often misses Karl Anthony Towns on the pick and pop, and he also missed him on a couple of open trails. Too often he's going to go for the easy pass to the strong corner, or just hit the entry to the post, and he misses Cat. Early in the first quarter, even, it's a Brunson Cat pick and roll. Denver blitzes Brunson. It leaves Cat open on the pop because of that, but Brunson forces an entry to the post and he turns it over. And then the very next time down, Brunson has Cat open for a trail 3 in transition. He drives into Murray, and it's eventually called a turnover. And then, of course, the one everybody got frustrated over, including myself, at the very end of regulation at the horn there, he misses Cat, right? He draws Jokic in drop coverage with Braun also on him at the top. But because Jokic is in drop on that side, it leaves Cat wide open on a weak side pop, but Brunson plays hero ball, misses the shot at the horn, and the Knicks go to double OT, or they go to OT. So we talk about it a lot, the Brunson Cat dynamic, and how, one of the things we focus on is how it can be a lot better of a dynamic if it's used with the correct lineups to get those right matchups and the right switches. That's fair, but also Brunson does need to do a better job of hitting Cat, like Kolek does. Every time Kolek is in, he's immediately hitting Cat once Cat rolls, once Cat pops. That's very important because it can avoid a scram switch. If you take a while to hit Cat, the defense is going to switch that back. But the way Kolek hits him immediately, so the Knicks just get right into it after, is important. Brunson needs to, I hate to say take notes from the young player, but you would hope he does that more. But whatever. It's something that is a work in progress. And defensively, I thought the Knicks showed up big time. Shout out to Cat, by the way, playing better defense in the first half than he did in the second half, where he was a bit sloppy. Obviously, he fouls out again. But I still thought he had some very clutch defensive stands in that second half. He forced a couple of pass outs. He played some impressive drop defense. He had some impressive switches in the overtime period. Denver was aggressively seeking him out to put him in action down the stretch, and I thought he held his own. Again, we always talk about when Cat switches onto a guard. I don't like when the Knicks send panic help, because the worst thing, and you saw the Nuggets do this with Brunson, when they blitz off the pick and roll, now you're leaving an open shooter in rotation. We're in 2026. Everybody can shoot. So the minute you send help, you're leaving an open shooter open. It's not like we're in the early 2000s where, a couple of guys on the floor might be your three-point snipers. No, everybody can do that now. So you double, you blitz, you hedge, you got to get back. And so there's a possession with 2.5 minutes remaining in the first overtime period. The Knicks are down 1. It's a Murray-Jokic pick and roll. Mikal switches off, Cat switches on. He holds his own on Jamal Murray in isolation. The Knicks don't send panic help. He forces a clean contest for a 3. His hands are up. They're in Murray's face. Despite having 5 fouls, it's a clean contest, forces a miss. Thought that was a really good job. And then Mitchell Robinson just holding it the fuck down. There goes my views on the algorithm. But he held it down, and for a good chunk of the season, I have been on Mitch's case about just the athleticism doesn't seem like it's there anymore, at least on the defensive side of the floor. But usually it does take him time. When he comes back from an injury, it takes him a minute to find that. And he has been, for at least a month, maybe even more now, their best defensive player, and it's not been close. I was super impressed with Mitchell Robinson's switchability last night. With a minute left in the first overtime period, it's a tie game at the time. The Nuggets run a Murray-Jokic pick and roll on the empty side. OG and Mitch switch it. Mitch stays with Jamal Murray despite all the hesitations, the dribble moves. He was doing everything he could to shake him. Couldn't. Mitch stays with him, pokes the ball loose, so Murray has to go back to get the ball, and then by that time he has to force a 30-foot heave, and it's a shot clock violation. Not the only possession I liked. In the final seconds of the first overtime, the Knicks are up just 2 points. It's another Murray-Jokic pick and roll. OG and Mitch switch the action again. Mitch does a nice job denying the pass back to Jokic that Jamal was trying to get off. Closes back out to Murray to prevent him from taking a 3. Murray then passes it back to Jokic. Mitch does a nice job shadowing help to Jokic to make sure he doesn't drive on OG. Jokic then kicks it back to Murray with him open. Mitch closes again to force a 3-point miss that could have won the game. And then in double overtime, there was a possession. It's a Jokic-Murray 5-1 pick and pop. So Jokic is on ball. OG and Mitch, they kind of double the pick and roll. So Jokic hits Murray on the pop. He's open now, but Mitch does a nice job recovering quickly enough to force another 3-point miss. Just awesome. Awesome stuff from the two bigs. And your wings were good too. Wingstop has to lead the way or else this whole thing's going to fall apart. And they continue to be strong. OG was fantastic at the point of attack screen navigation. That's been an issue this year for him. He's not been navigating screens as well. I thought he did that well. I thought he switched well. I thought he stayed attached, though, staying attached to Murray if he was fighting over the top. That was huge. He had a couple of nice heads and recovers. And then Mikal Bridges. Listen, he didn't have a great game in the box score, and everybody wants to send him to China after that foul in the overtime period, right? Missed 6 out of his 8 shots. The physicality issues with Jamal Murray, especially in the first quarter, were problems. And then again, the big foul, but a fantastic third quarter where he steps up big time defensively. He has this really remarkable sequence in the third where he sprints down the floor in transition and like OG's right next to him, but Mikal sprinting to the other side of the floor removes the helper, so OG's now open for a corner. He knocks it down. And then the very next time down, it's Denver with the ball. It's a Murray-Jokic pick and roll. He intercepts the pass to the Jokic roll. That leads to a Clarkson transition layup. And then the next time Denver goes down again, this is 3 times in a row, he plays good post-up defense on Jokic. He gets switched onto him, forces a miss, and it leads to a Brunson floater where he gets fouled and converts. So great stops. And then he also made 2 big shots. And this, I know that sounds silly, but in the third quarter, he knocks down a big mid-range for some breathing room. And in the double overtime period, knocks down a corner for some breathing room. That was kind of the unofficial dagger. Both of those were massive shots because, remember, this was a game where no team led by double figures. You know, it was huge. There were 2 shots that, I took a sigh of relief watching fall. So good for Mikal, as bad as he was coming through with some clutch plays. But we're going to go back to the second unit here, and we just talked about his defense. Mitchell Robinson, I'm giving him the game ball from the second unit. He now has 12 game balls on the year. In this game, 10 points, 8 rebounds, 7 of them defensive rebounds for a change. That was different. He wasn't on the offensive glass like he usually is, but he was great on the defensive boards, ending possessions, the switches. He had a steal. He had a block, 5 for 5 from the floor, was a +3, 23 minutes. Just hope and pray that this kid continues to stay healthy, because he's their most important player outside of your 2 best players. You can make a case OG, but I mean, this guy, whatever. He is pivotal. Without a healthy, effective Mitch in the postseason, it's going nowhere. This whole thing, just, you really need that, with the way that you're set up at the center position, where Yabusele didn't pan out the way the Knicks thought he would, and Karl Anthony Towns is obviously more of an offensive big. You need Mitch's defense to make this thing work, and he's just gotten back to that level, and it's so nice to see. So, speaking of Gershon Yabusele, RIP to him. He's officially a Chicago Bull, no longer a Knick. But the Knicks traded him last night to the Bulls for a guy who I thought they were eventually going to flip, and they did. Because today was the real headliner, as the trade deadline is approaching in a few hours. The Knicks got their guy. They've got the guy they've been wanting. They've got the guy that everybody thought they were going to trade for, and that is Jose Alvarado. And I'm not going to do a whole scouting report on him and talk heavily on him, and maybe we'll try to break down a scouting report and do a trade deadline episode tonight if I can get to it. I doubt it, but really briefly, it's a good move. They traded the guy they got for Yabu, Terry plus 2 seconds for Jose Alvarado to the Pelicans. So Alvarado's a good move for the Knicks. He's most importantly a threat at the point of attack, which is what they're looking for, especially with Deuce gone. But he's a point of attack defender. He can navigate a ball screen fine, but his real threat in the point of attack is afterwards in isolation off the pick and roll. He can defend an ISO. He's just a complete pest out there. He's got that toughness to him. He's got an edge to him. He's not afraid to get in your face. Pesty, intense, all those buzzwords. He's got them. He is a small dude, so he's not going to be very switchable. So when the Knicks are switching everything, and there will be some matchup issues where they might have to overhelp, that is a concern. But just having him next to Kolek and Clarkson, you didn't get any bigger, right? Which was a thing you were looking to hopefully add. But I do like the defense in a vacuum, and I like the offense too. He is not much of a spot up threat, so the gravity's not going to be there when he's off the ball like it is with Deuce. But his ability to pull up for three, that has gravity. That's going to draw hedges. That's going to draw doubles, draw blitzes when he comes off pick and roll because he can pull up. He's not a guy who's going to get paint touches, so he doesn't help a ton there, but he can open up the floor when he runs pick and roll because they have to worry about his pull-up shot. It'll open up the roll. It'll put them in rotation weak side. And he's a decent ball handler. So, when Brunson sits for, the 8 minutes or whatever that he sits for, you don't have to rely on Kolek, who continues to struggle with heavy point of attack defense. You don't have to rely on Clarkson, who is just never the fit, right? He's not that guy. So it's a good move all in all, considering they flipped Yabu into this, especially. So they're clean off the books for next year. They can stay under that second apron next year financially to get Yabu's contract off. But yeah, losing Deuce sucks. They find out this afternoon that Deuce McBride is going to be out for the remainder of the regular season. He's getting surgery tomorrow. And there's a chance he could be back for the playoffs. There's also a chance he could not be. So I think best case scenario is that he's healthy and he's healthy enough to be effective for the second round. I'm not super optimistic about this, but what are you going to do? Every team deals with them, and the Knicks at least have the depth to get through the remainder of this season. You've got Shamet, who has emerged to what he's been. He's having a career year. You've got Kolek, you've got Clarkson, and now you've got Jose Alvarado. So you just need Deuce to get healthy, hopefully by the playoffs, and we'll deal with that when we do. But what a friggin' win, man. What a win, and what a deadline for the Knicks to kind of soften the hit a little bit. But up next, they've got 4 more games yet before the first half's over. So, and it's a tough one. It is a gauntlet. They've got Detroit tomorrow in Detroit. They've got to go to Boston on Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, for a matinee at the Fake Garden. And then they've got a back-to-back next week. Indiana, who, as bad as they've been, it's always tough for the Knicks to beat that team. That's at the Garden. But then the second of the back-to-back will be back in Philly. So, you know how they've been with the Knicks. So, tough schedule to end the first half here, but we'll see. I'm excited to see the Knicks, a little new look here with Jose Alvarado. So, that's what you got up next on the schedule. And when we get back, we'll wrap this episode up with our trivia question, and that'll be that. Stay with us.
Love BD4 but don't have the time to sit down and watch? Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify so you never miss an episode. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star rating and a quick review. It helps us grow and keeps the conversation going.
All right, welcome back. I do apologize. I've been kind of speed running through this episode, talking fast. Part of that's just had some coffee. Part of that's I'm mad ADHD. Another part of that is I gotta go. I gotta take off in a little bit. So, but I hope we got the point across, and we are in an era where you could slow it down. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, you can literally listen to 0.75 speed or whatever you please. But with that all said, let's wrap this up with our question of the day. And in this episode, our trivia question is: name the 3 Hall of Famers who played for both the Knicks and Nuggets. Name the 3 Hall of Famers who played for both the Knicks and Nuggets. All right. That is your trivia question. That's it. What a win. My favorite win. The cup was fun, but statistically, that doesn't count. That game never happened. When we look back in 50 years from now, that game never even happened. So this was the best one of the season and not close. So fun win. Hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. Interesting deadline. And I'll see you all very soon. Appreciate it. Hey guys, thank you for listening to BD4. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe to us on YouTube, and give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.